Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're doing well, and thanks for joining me for this week's Watch Me Viz. I don't know how many weeks this is now, about 6 or 7, maybe 8. Been really enjoying these, so thanks for joining again. I see we've got Sarah Pallett from all the way over in LA. Wow, must be, let's see, so it's 8 in the morning there. So thanks for getting up to watch us. And of course, Denise is here. And it looks like Eva is on as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask on there, and then maybe she can help moderate the comments. So for week 42, we are looking at this particular visualization from, let's see, who's it from? From the OECD. And let's go ahead and take a look at it. And right, so it looks like it's just comparing a couple of different metrics: health spending, so total governmental, compulsory, and voluntary spending on healthcare across 3 different countries. So we got the totals are the circles. So the totals look like they're the X's plus the diamonds added together. So I guess the first thing I would think about is, do we really need the totals as well as the other two? I'm not sure what value that adds. So yeah, and it's in US dollars per capita. I'm not sure if that's what it looks like in the data or not. The other thing I like to do is go up here to the top and see what they mean by health spending. So this is actually the consumption of healthcare goods. So it's not like healthcare spending, as in it's not like what the government spends on insurance or regular kind of healthcare. This looks like it's the consumption of healthcare goods, including personal healthcare, which would be what we would think of as healthcare, plus public services, and it excludes spending on investments. Okay. Okay, and it just kind of defines what government or compulsory is. And then there's voluntary insurance, voluntary health insurance. Okay, and then this indicator, so NGOs and private, so what's it? Hold on, let me say that again. This indicator is presented as a total and by type of financing. So government, compulsory, voluntary, and out-of-pocket is measured as a share of GDP, as a share of total health spending in the US in USD. Okay, so and then there's this publication here. So let's see what this. If this has any. Okay, so health at a glance. Okay, that's not particularly useful. Oh, you have to buy it. Oh, you have access to buy this book. Okay, well that's not. Let's try this here. Okay, executive summary. Gains in longevity. Okay, but this is just around spending. So let's see if there's a way. Life expectancy, mental health, risk factors, access to care. I'm just looking at this to say, here we go, health expenditure. And we've got health expenditure per capita, which I think is what we were looking at. So I like going in to just see what this says. The level of health spending in a country as a whole. Okay. So spending in the U.S. was equivalent of $10,000 for each U.S. resident. Holy cow. Okay, figure 7.1. Let's see if we can find that. Okay, so this is the same information, just represented as a bar chart, it looks like. So 10,000. So what's the U.S.? Where was the U.S. here? 11,072. Let's see. So that's all years. Latest data available. Okay, so this must be the current year. Okay. So 11,000. So that must be kind of, yeah, so this is close to 11,000, but this is 2018. Okay, so that's the same. And then they have, looks like they have 2 5-year periods. We've got 2008 through 2013 compared to 2013 to 2018. And it's just doing some side-by-side bars, which look pretty confusing. Okay, is there anything else useful in here? Not particularly. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the data here. And it looks like these are countries, what the indicator is. Okay, so just some stuff. So what I'm going to do, I've gone ahead and opened it up in Tableau. And if I look at the aliases here for location, those look like they're 3-character countries. So I'm going to call that country 3-character, or maybe country. We go with country abbreviation, and then this health indicator. So there's only one health expenditure. So when there's only one, I'm just going to go ahead and hide that column. The subject looks like we have total out-of-pocket. I'm sorry, compulsory, out-of-pocket, total, and voluntary. But there was something about, where did it say? So, okay, so those three, it looks like these three add up to that. Okay, we can double check that. And then the measure, okay, so it's just percent GDP. Okay, so that's percent of GDP. This must be US per capita. So I'm going to rename percent of GDP, percent of healthcare expenditure. And then this is, this must be per capita. But again, I can double check these things. The frequency here, so we've got A, so that's nothing, so I'm just going to hide that. The time, so this is actually years, so I'm just going to rename that year. And then value I'm going to leave, and then flag codes. I don't have any idea what those mean. I'll leave it in for now because I'm not quite sure what that means. So what I'm going to do is, well, year needs to be a dimension, so I'm just going to drag that up. I'm going to look at just a specific country. So let me pick just the US, for example. And the measure I want to look at is that I'm going to just look at a single year and bring the values in. So did I have anything else? Flag codes, subject. What is that? Okay, so value onto text. So compulsory, voluntary, but I need a country that also has the out-of-pocket. So let me just try it like this and see what happens. Subject, filter. I just want the out-of-pocket. Okay, so Austria. Let's try Austria then. Or AUT, Austria. Okay, so the total is 10, so let me actually, I want to make sure that I can understand what these are doing. So number. Okay, so if I look at percent of GDP, these two add up to 10.41. Okay, so compulsory plus out-of-pocket. Okay, so out-of-pocket and compulsory look like, I'm sorry, out-of-pocket and voluntary look like they're the same. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to add a data source filter on the subject, and I'm going to exclude the out-of-pocket. And now I don't have to play around with that anymore. So, and the subject, I can call this total. Okay, so I think that's it there. We also don't have, okay, so I'm going to bring in a second data set that that has more information about the countries, like what region they're in and things like that. So I'm going to add a second data source, which I think is here. Okay, and what is this? So geo. Okay, so that has the locations, and then this one has the information. Okay, so let's bring this one in, and we're going to say that the country abbreviation is the alpha 3. Okay, so that looks good. And I know I don't need that, so I'm going to hide that. I'm going to hide the country code. The alpha 3 I don't need because I already have that. That comes from this primary data source. And then I want to take the geo, and let's join that by, so this is going to be alpha 2 to country geo. Right, so I think I can now hide, let's see here, what do I want to do? So I can hide that, and then I can also hide the name, because all I want from this data source is just the latitude and longitude. I don't know if I'm going to use it or not, but so yeah, so I'm going to make both of those dimensions. And then when I click on them, I should get every country. This is every country that's in the data set. This doesn't seem right though. Surely there's 51, only 51 countries listed here. That can't be right. So week 42. And there's, oh, okay, maybe it is right because there's only 52 in the data set. Is that right? So let me edit this again. That doesn't seem like enough. All I'm going to do is check to make sure there's, okay, so there's 52, so that's right. Okay, so I can put those back in. All right, so there's only 52 in the data set. I have the information there if I need it. What's region code? So I don't care about that, so I'm going to hide that. I've got region, and then subregion, and what is intermediate region? South America. Okay, so I'm going to get, maybe what I'll do, I could, if I want to, I probably could take this subregion and maybe replace it with the intermediate region when it exists. That way it splits up Latin America and the Caribbean. But that's not that big of a deal. Okay, so we have some year data. So let me, let's see. So I'm just going to drag the year and let me make it contiguous. It'll be easier to look at. And let's see. So one thing I can't do, so my subject, I'm going to exclude the total. And I'm going to put the subject on the rows. The value in the rows. I'm going to get some kind of line chart, but I need to break it up by country. So let me just put country on detail. Okay, well, that looks pretty terrible. So Luxembourg had a big decrease. Okay, so what if I take the subject off? And that's going to give me the total. So this is giving, yeah, that's the total because it's the two added together. Right, okay, that's not very useful. Let's see what it looks like if I just do it as subject. I'm going to exclude the total and make this a % of total. Oops, wrong way. I need to compute it using subject. Okay, there we go. So this is now telling us of the costs 32%. So this is just giving me the percentage instead of the values. So what if I change this then to be, let's put subject. No, that's not gonna, let me do it like this. So make a % of total. And then we want to do it for each subject. There we go. Okay, so something happened here with the US. 2013, is that when Obamacare went in place? Let's see. Date. 23rd of March of that's 2010. Okay, so that can't be it. So something happened here in the US in 2013. So something doesn't look right. Ah, okay. It looks like it's switched from voluntary to compulsory. So that maybe that's when Obamacare went into effect. Let's see. Yeah, so there must be something in the Affordable Health Care Act for that. Okay, so that explains that dip. Okay, so I have this, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap these around. And, oh, okay, so this makes sense because everything adds up to 100%. So let me clear the table calc. And we can see most of the countries have compulsory is greater than. Okay, so let's create a new calculated field. I'm going to call this compulsory. So if subject equals so what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to create two metrics instead of one, just to give me some different views that I could look at. Okay, then I want the value. Otherwise, I want nothing. And then I'm going to duplicate that and make this one voluntary. Now, why the hell did it do that? Is that the stupidest thing or what? I did paste and it puts that crap in there. It's not even like in my data set. Like, oh God, that drives me crazy. Okay. Okay, so let me just look real quick if there's any comments. Let's see. Okay. Right. So what I want to look at here is which one is greater. So I want to say voluntary greater than compulsory. I'm just trying to identify which ones are the higher ones. So I want to say my sum of compulsory is. Oh, this isn't right though. That's fine. I'm messed up here. So sum of voluntary. So I need to actually filter this by the measure. So I need to look at one of these. So I was not really, so per capita. So the problem now is I'm adding up all of the years, and you can't really do that for a per capita or percent of GDP. So I'm going to just start with per capita. And okay, that didn't really change anything. So let me show the filter. How about percent of GDP? Okay, I don't really understand that one. So percent of healthcare expenditure. Okay, so this could be interesting. So this is showing which countries have more. Okay, so let's put this onto color. And I got nothing. Oh, okay, so that's because in my calculations, they're both null. So let's see. So I need to. Okay, so I'm going to say. I think if I just do else 0, I don't know if that's going to work or not. The reason wasn't getting any colors was because there was nothing to compare because I was comparing nulls. Okay, so this is still not right. So I should get something here. Okay, so right, I think I want to do fixed on country abbreviation and year. And then I'm going to do the sum of that. Okay, so let me try that. And then let me edit this. Okay, so maybe I need to try it this way. Right, so, oh, maybe I spelled compulsory wrong. Compulsory, did I spell that wrong? Compulsory, oh, I did spell it wrong. S-O-R-Y, no wonder why it didn't work. Gonna go back, let's see. Okay, I think that's it. So this should be compulsory. Wonder why it didn't work. That makes complete sense now. Okay, but I'm still getting my nulls, which is fine. Oops, I still didn't spell it right. Okay, let me just try apply compulsory. I think it's because I'm comparing nulls. So let me put, no, let me try it this way. I don't think this is going to work either. Okay, there we go. Let's see, now I'm getting this gradual shading, which is ugly, so I need to write this as a level of detail expression instead, because then I can bring it back as just a dimension instead of a measure. So fixed on country and year, and then we want to just get the value. So this is saying for each country and year, if the subject is compulsory, then bring that year back. And then once I have that, I'm only going to return a single number, so I'm not going to end up with like an else or anything like that. I'm sorry, I don't need like the else 0. So again, fixed on country and year, and I want to do the sum of that. Okay, so again, the first thing it's doing is it's kind of filtering the data to just the voluntary subject. And then it's like grouping it. It's like adding them all up and then breaking it down by country and year. I don't know if that explained it or not, probably not. Okay, so now we can see we've got blue lines and red lines. So let me swap those around. Yeah, okay, let me try something different then, because it's like, see, it doesn't always put them in the front, which is annoying. So you see how they're kind of like crisscrossing. So let me try it this way. So let's do compulsory and voluntary. And then subject I can take off. Okay, is this still the same view? It's still, now why does this look so different? That's what's strange. Oh, I need to have this in context. There we go. So I still have my like crisscrossing view. So that really didn't do me any good. Add to context. Right. So that's not very useful. Let's see, what else could I look at? If I look at each country, and let me put the measure here. So that's percent of GDP. Okay, I'm just going to show that as a filter. And let's just say, I think per capita is probably, no, let's do percent of GDP. And then again, if I look at the year, I just want to see, and then the value. And the subject I need to filter as well. So maybe I'll just look at total for now. Okay, so there's a bunch of countries where I don't have anything for 2019 or 18. So how many do I have here? So there's 52 there. There's only 44 here. And there's only 43 in 2019. So maybe I'll stick with 2017 since there's data for every year there. And then what if I compare that to, so there's 50. I'm trying to find the years where we have data for 50. Okay, so which two countries are missing here? Okay, Serbia, and MKD. What's MKD? Macedonia. Okay, so let me just filter those two out. And O average, that must be the overall average. Serbia, so let me just exclude those because now I probably have, so I've got 50 in 2003 and I have 50 in 2017. Okay, so if I keep only those and I move that there. Okay, so how does this look? Okay, so what I'm looking at now is which countries have had the greatest increase between 2003 and 2017. So let me just duplicate that and make this the, oh no, I could probably do it as, so I want to look at, let me copy this down to color. And I'm going to make this a table calculation. So difference from table across. Okay, so that's good relative to 2003. Okay, so this is going to tell me, so everything goes from, you know, like a gray, because at 2003 you see the difference is 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say look up that value and then the last one of it. I think that should work. There we go. So now I've got a solid color going across for each one of these. And if I now sort the countries by 2017, can I sort that way? Okay. Okay, so now we have, I don't know if you saw what I did with that table calculation. Let me just kind of explain what I did here. Let me copy that. So the first thing I did was I made it a table calculation, which that's what this one does. So this was just comparing 20, so this is 2017, and I'm comparing it to 2003. When I'm standing on 2003, so basically I'm looking at each year, that's what gets plugged into this first part, and then I'm looking it up against the first value, which is always 2003. So if I want to say 2017 minus 2003, that's what this gives me. And then that's when I get that everything starts at the gray, but I want it to be a solid color. So I just said when I go to use the lookup, and then I do comma last, it's always going to look up 2017. So it's going to go to the last, whatever the status is on the end. And that's where that color comes from. Let's see. The data says I didn't take action on that. Okay. Yeah, so looking at the question that you just posed to Eva about there are some missing values. That's why I went through and I checked, because I want to make sure if I'm comparing countries that I have the same time frame. So the earliest date that I have all 50 is in 2003, and the latest date I have them is 2017. I'm pretty sure that I had them for every year in between as well. So, so for example, if I took year off the filters, let me make this continuous. I could see how everything compares to, this is now comparing everything to 2003, but let me filter the year. Let me filter. And I want to say at least 2003. There we go. So we can see something like that. The view that I had before that, if I get rid of the color here, this is looking at the change. This is looking at the percent of GDP for each country over this time period. So you see the US, the percent, it's 17% of the GDP. So that's quite a bit. And then this country, whatever this one is down, Indonesia, has only reported data for a certain number of months. So I don't know, this is a pretty interesting view as well. So let me go back here. So I'm going to actually duplicate the sheet, and let's see, let's make this continuous, and I'm going to say at least 2003, and then make this continuous. Oh no, I wanted this to be the whole time period, so let me get rid of that. So what I could do here is I could say, so this is just the change in GDP, but I could make this, I'm going to get that field off of color, and what I could do is I could do a table calculation and say percent, no, I don't want to do, so difference from, and I want to do it relative to the first period for each year, or sorry, for each country. So this is treating each country differently. So you can see, let me bring up the highlighter. So if I bring up, what was the one I was looking at before? It was Indonesia. You can see it only starts there in 2003. If I look up, I don't know, what else could I find out? United States. United States, see, and then UK is there. So this is kind of showing us the ones that have increased the most. So, so the percent of GDP for the US, let me put the value onto the detail. So for the US, for example, let's say the US, for example, the percent of GDP in 2003, or I'm sorry, 1970 was 6.25% of the GDP. And now it's 17%, so that's a 10.7% increase. That's a lot. And I could even change this to a per capita number, percent of healthcare expenditure. Oh, okay, but that's because the total. So right now I'm looking at total GDP. Right, but then I could also, maybe I break this down by total and then compulsory and voluntary. So this is the mandate. So this is where Obamacare came in. Must have been where Obamacare came into effect because of the growth in the compulsory, and then it flattened out, I guess, when everybody was required to start paying for it. So if let me just go back. I'm going to duplicate, and this time I'm going to just exclude the total. And then I want the subject on the columns. Okay, there we go. So you can see the US changes quite a bit here. So if I look at the United States, they sort of mirror each other, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, so maybe that's something I'm going to look at then. Maybe I want to compare the compulsory to the voluntary. So let's say, just to make sure this is working right, I'm going to put the year and the country and the compulsory and the voluntary. And then I want to look at the subject is, oh no, I don't need to do that because these are already filtering that. And then the measure, let's just say percent of GDP. That seems to be the most interesting one. And we can see, for example, let me put country on here instead. So in country null, so in Australia, we can see that the compulsory is that, the voluntary is that, and then I want to look at the difference. Compulsory versus voluntary. And I'm just going to do sum of compulsory minus the sum of voluntary. Let me put that in there, and I'm just trying to make sure these values work correctly. Okay, so it looks like it's calculating properly, so that's good. So I like building things out in tables sometimes just to make sure the values work. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip these around and make that continuous. And we can see there was a large increase in compulsory spending in the US. Norway didn't report for a couple of years. Are there any countries that actually go down? Cyprus. Oh, I see, but these numbers are so small because I'm looking at just the change. I want to look at the percent change. So I want to look at the percent. So that would be the sum of compulsory minus the voluntary divided by the sum of voluntary. So this should give me the percent change. Okay, well, this is pretty useless. So when my analysis is useless, what I try to do is I just right click on the sheet and I hit delete and I pretend that I never did it, and then nobody knows. Okay, so Eva said she recommends rebuilding the original viz to check whether you get the right numbers. Okay, so I can show you how I would do that. I probably should have done that. So let's just take the United States, for example, for 2019. Actually, I think I did that at the beginning, didn't I? So USA, the year we want is 2019. And this is looking at dollars per capita. So I'll just leave it like that. That's fine. And then the subject is that. And I'm just going to put the value. Where's the value on the text? So I could see the US is total 11,072, the 9386, and 1685. Okay, good. So that's good. So what else could we do here? I'm uninspired. Let's see, how else could I compare these? So this is pretty interesting. I like the difference between the compulsory and the voluntary, but it's going to be really hard to visualize well. And I've got my slope graphs. Okay, I'm going to go to my old trusty chart choosers. Hopefully. Okay, so change over time. So we've done the line chart and the dot line area column. So the deviation chart is what I was hoping would be useful, but that didn't turn out particularly well. That's what I was trying to do. Oh, what did I do? Oh well, I don't know where it is now. But I think there is a country. Let me see. Let me just clear this sheet. Isn't there a country in here? Country called OE. So O average. What does that mean? Maybe that's the OECD average. Okay, so that's the OECD average. So OECD. Okay, now how do I know what countries are the OECD countries? Oh, it must be these countries because that's where the data comes from. Member countries. Okay, so I think maybe what I'll do is, let's say okay, so I'm going to, so I've got the OECD average, and let's take the, see, and now I lost the OECD. So I'm going to have to do it by, if I put country, yeah, I keep losing the, okay, so that must have something to do with the little lasso guy. Okay, so the measure I'm going to look at is percent of GDP, and I'm going, the subject is total, because I think, yeah, the OECD doesn't have compulsory or voluntary, so I'm going to keep only the total. Okay, if I bring year, make it continuous, I'm actually just going to make it continuous by default. And if I want to compare everything to the, so the OECD average only starts in 2003. Okay, so I'm going to create a set. So I'm going to call this my OECD years. That's 2003 through 2019. And now if I just drag that onto the filter shelf, I get just those years. And then I want to get rid of Macedonia and Serbia. So I'm going to create a set for those two. Countries to remove. And I don't want the year column, I just want the countries. And I'm going to drag that to the filters. Oops. But that should be edit set. That should be, I want to do edit filter, exclude. Okay, what did I do wrong there? So let me delete. Create set. Okay. And it was Macedonia, MC, or was it M, what the heck was it? MKD, I think. And then Serbia. So what it was? MKD, Serbia. And then I want to also get rid of 2018 and 19. Okay, so that's fine, because there's some other countries that are missing data. So for example, Russia. Yeah, so I think I'm going to, so countries to remove, let's edit that set, make it an exclude. So I'll get rid of those two, but then my OECD years should only go through 2017. Okay, so now everything, okay, so I have 50 rows, and I have how many years? Let's see, how many years do I have here? 15 times 50 is 750. Okay, so that's good. So now everything here has a measure. And okay, so I could put my value on here. And I want to add a table calc. Difference from, that's fine. And relative to, let's see, no, I want to do it the other way around. Relative to OECD. Okay, so this is giving me every country now compared to the OECD average. So if I move country to detail, that's not particularly interesting. Right, so let's show the highlighter. Oops. So if I look at OECD here, I should just get a straight line. Yeah, so that's what I would expect there. So I wonder, okay, so let's duplicate this, and I'm going to filter down to just 2017. Oops. And I'm going to make these a bar instead. And then if I put country here and get rid of year. Okay, so now I can see how they all compare to the OECD average. So entire view. And if I put value in here, so OECD is here. So there's a couple ways I could do this. So this is giving me the positives and the negatives. So if I move this to the, let's move this to the detail, clear the table calc. So it'll give me both the difference and the value. And then if I also move it to color, I'm going to get that gradual shading. Okay, so this is telling me what it's like from, okay. So all of these countries will have every year. So if I filter down, I think I have an idea now. So let's go to, where's the countries? Let's show the filter. Okay, so let me just pick a couple of them. Okay, well, that didn't work. Why is that? Austria. Ah, it's because I don't have OECD to compare to. So, okay. That's fine. I can. What I can do. So my thinking now is, how would it look if I did like small multiples? So let me just keep these two, and then get rid of my. Let's see. I want to look at the OECD years, and then I want to put year onto here. So this is what it's going to look like for Austria. Okay. Right, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit my data source, and I'm going to remove, let's see, so when, come on, click on this stupid thing. Performance options, cardinality, many to 1. Okay, because what I want to happen is, if I look at my list of countries again, oops, wrong thing. If I look at my list of countries, and then I bring in my country name next to it, yeah, so the OECD keeps dropping out, and I don't want that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a join I'm familiar with. So let me go in here, and I'm going to bring in the info sheet. It's going to be a left join, and it's going to go from country abbreviation to alpha 3 as a left join. And then I'm going to bring in the geo. Oh, actually, I don't think I need the geo. Let me just remove that because I'm not doing anything with those anyway. Okay, so, and what I hid some of these fields, I don't remember which ones. This can go country code, I think the alpha 2, the alpha 3, the regions, okay, and these codes can all go. So the reason I'm doing this is because when I have you see I now have a null here for the country, so I can edit the alias for that and just call it OECD. And now I can use the country name as well. So like, okay. So I think I like this. So my idea now is to maybe, I know I did this a few weeks ago, but I'm going to bring up my trellis calculations again. So let me see. So, oh no, let me go back here. I'm going to do it on this sheet. So column, and then make that discrete, and then rows. And this is just going to allow me to create the small multiples view. So my thinking now is that I'm going to create a little box for each one of the countries. So discrete, so columns and rows. And I'm going to bring in a second country, Austria. Okay, so what I want is this upper corner, I want to be just Australia, and then the second one I want to be Austria. So I need to configure my table calcs. So I want to do it by country and year. I think I want to do it like, no, that's not right. And then restarting every country. I think that's right. So edit table calc, and then restarting every country. Okay, so that's not right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a visualization where I did this already, and then I'm just going to look at how I did the calculations for it. So I think I just did it a couple weeks ago, but okay, let's see. It's not that one. Okay. I know this is probably quite boring to watch me scroll, but I'm trying to find, here we go. What's this one? Richer countries tend to be. So week 11, Makeover Monday, week 11. Okay, so Makeover Monday 2020, week 11. Oh good, and this one was about countries as well, so maybe it'll be a bit easier. Okay. All right. So Kevin, I can share a link to the countries list that I have that has those kind of that other information about the countries. I can share that. I'll put that in the notes after this gets published. Okay, so let's see here. So how did I do this? So edit and country year country. Okay. So edit table calc. This should be country. Okay. There we go. So I've got that. I now have Austria, and I have the OECD average. Okay, so now if I get rid of my countries, I see something like that. I'm going to make this continuous. And then if I make them line, or maybe if I make them area charts, no, that looks like crap. So line. So I'm basically back to exactly this visualization, which that's kind of boring that I created the same thing again. But that's okay. Maybe we can all learn something from it. So what I want to do is so how many years do we have? We have, so this is 2010 would be the middle. Okay. What is my highest value? That's fine. So max value. So window max, and then that. Okay, so I'll just show you what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to just get a line. So edit table calc. Okay, yeah, I just want to get, no, this should be at the level relative to, okay, so that's not right. That's not what I was hoping for. It looks like the largest value, where's the, oh, I could just do it this way. So min max, and I want to do it for all. Nope, sorry, that's not right. Min max for the table. Okay, so 8.27 is my largest value here. So, all right, so what I'm going to do then, no, I don't like this. This is not good. Now, maybe what I could do, so, okay, let me duplicate this. I'm going down some serious rabbit holes here. So, if I clear the table calc, make that percent of GDP, and then instead of having this on here, I want to put my, so I'm going to exclude the total and then put subject on the color. And now I can see both of them for every year. So I'm missing some voluntary ones here. Okay, so that's where I need to make that an attribute. And that's fine. I want to put year onto detail color. So how do I configure this? There's a way that you have to configure this. So edit table calc. Okay, so edit table calc. Yeah, subject at the year country. Okay. See, the problem here is I go from, so I've got, looks like Portugal, and then it goes down to Russia because there's a value missing somewhere along the way here. Boy. And I did look at the change, so there's that. This is percent of GDP. This one is the, so let's make this percent of GDP. And this is my countries. If I look, didn't I look at the difference between compulsory versus voluntary? Where's that? At least I thought I did. And I want to have country on detail. Year up. Oops, didn't want to do that. And then I want to have that there. And then measure. And then subject. That is compulsory or voluntary, which I already have in the calculation, so I don't need that. Measure, flag codes country. Okay, so I think that is good. So this is looking at the difference between the two, which also looks terrible. Okay, let me try one more thing. So compulsory versus voluntary. Let's say by country. This is going to be the US, right? Yep. So I need this to be the, not that. I want to, no, that's fine. I don't need that. Subject, wrong field. Show filter, it's easier. Right. Okay, so if I do per capita, oh, I need to add this to context. So right, okay, so let me make these circles. And then maybe if I put region on the color, maybe we'll see something. Okay, that's not very helpful. What is my null? Oh, that's going to be OECD. So let me, at least I think it is. So where is my null country? Region is null. Okay, so in my region field, so okay. Oh, but it's null because it doesn't have that particular measure. Okay, that's fine. It only has the total. So let me just hide the indicator. Okay, so if I put, let me make this a line. Oh no, let me make it, let's see, if I put the year onto pages, and then let me show the history for all. I want to show the trails like that, or maybe like that. Okay, so now if I increase that, I can see the costs increasing. So if I play it, you'll see what I mean. So we can see the different costs going up. So most of them stay kind of normal, but then the US goes kind of out of control. So compulsory versus mandatory. So look like if I flip it. Voluntary, compulsory. I don't know which way I like it better. Maybe like that. Let me play it again and see what it looks like. This is a way you can get like dotted lines as well, if you ever want to use dotted lines. So if I make this trail format, I want to make it thin, and then I want to have both, and then I want to fade them out. Yeah, but now it's giving me just the dots, which I don't like. Okay, so I want to do just the trails. All right, so now that I have that, and I only want to look at the OECD years, and then if I play this now, I get something like that. And then what if so I can exclude that. Okay, because I can switch out any three of these. Oh, that's not very useful. So oh, that's interesting. So the per capita, you can see every country kind of going up. So maybe I will, I don't know. I don't like any of these. Let's see. Because I could allow the region as a filter. Oh no, this needs to be. Let's add that to context as well. Because if they click on a country, they could kind of see its path over time, or a region. Maybe I'll split it up by region. So if I put region in the view, you can see Europe is kind of all bunched together. Africa, there's only one country. So what if I do my columns and rows now? So region, row, and then edit table calc. And I want to do it by country. Country. And do I get a, I don't. I was hoping to get a scatter plot in each section. Oh, but the US throws the whole thing off. Okay, so that's not particularly useful then. Okay, so maybe I'll just go with that because I need to be done. This is taking way too long. So I'm going to start with my floater. Oops. And then so let's see, so that's going to be 0, 0, 900, 700. Okay, I'm going to drop a sheet in here. This is going to be my title. I'm just putting that in like that now because I don't know what I want my title to be. I'm going to put a blank in there, and I'm going to put another blank in, and let's make the height of this 10, and then format the background to be black. That gives me a nice little divider line. Actually, this whole sheet, I need to add some padding. Okay. And then if I put my dashboard here, God, these are all terrible. I got to use something else. So what is this one? This is one that's just showing me the change since 2000 or since 1970, but that's not. No, this one is telling me the change since the first. Let's see, edit table calc relative to, and I want to do. Let's see, relative to. Yeah. So these are all relative to 2003, so it's not very helpful. Okay, compulsory. That looks not very, what does this look like as an area chart? So this is difference to OECD, which isn't particularly surprising. That one didn't work. I don't know what that is. That's terrible. Okay, maybe I'll just go with this. So I'm going to drop that in there. So my measure, let's see, layout. Okay, so now I've got all this extra crap down here. Okay, so I've got that measure. But what I want to do with this is I want to allow them to pick either percent of GDP or per capita, because I think per capita was the other interesting one, right? Yeah. So what I'm going to do then is in my measures, I'm going to, let's create a set, and I'm going to exclude that one. And if I put that on there, nope, wrong one, where'd it go? Okay, there we go. So that will get rid of that option. And then my region, so that's fine. I'm going to hide the title. And then, but I want to be able to, let's see. Voluntary versus compulsory health spending 2003 through 2017. Let me do it like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to I spelled compulsory wrong again. And then maybe I could just make this, so get rid of the all value, make this a single value list. Sorry, single value. Yeah, I can make it a single value list. And I'm going to stick a horizontal container here. And I'm going to put that inside of that container. And I'm going to put this next to it. Oops. Oh, come on. Okay. And then I can now get rid of this blank. And maybe I'll just, oh, I don't want to do that. So, why is it not letting me move this? Ah, okay, so let me remove the container. Okay, there we go. So I could maybe just stick this here somewhere. Highlight a region. Because what they could do here is they could just click on one, and then if I turn the highlighter on, it'll show just those. Okay, so that looks good. And I could also country. So I'm also going to, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put both the, I'm going to put both of these in here. Sorry, this is taking so long with such a simple data set. Okay, so something like that. And I think what I'll do is I'll format this so that there is a white background. and then a border. And then this one, I'm going to okay, something like that. Okay, so this should be, let's see, where's this sheet? Compulsory, rename, spending. This would be rename, voluntary spending. Okay, and I think the last thing I want to do is change the colors. So let's see what I could go with here. What's this one? See, some of these colors might be too close to each other. I want pretty distinct colors. Wow, those are bright. Let me maybe just try one of these. No, these are still similar colors. See, there isn't enough variance in them. Maybe I could do that. So if I go to Makeover Monday primary, I can maybe make that and go maybe Europe as a lighter green, and then go to Africa, that, Asia, maybe blue and gray. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, that's terrible. So Europe and Asia are too close together. So, right, this is always the hardest part, is picking out colors. So if I just do assign palette, Tableau will just automatically assign colors, which is nice. I mean, it doesn't look nice, but it's nice that it does that. Okay. So I think I'm gonna make it like that, and I know it looks terrible, but you know, such is life. Maybe I need to make that fit on one row. Okay, and then I don't like how wide my dashboard is now, so I'm going to decrease the width because I want this to be pretty square. And what is my size? So that's now 780 by 600, so I need to increase the height by 180. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix that, and then I'm going to increase the height by 180, so make that 980. Nope, helps if I change the wrong field. So this should be, okay, that sure doesn't look square, but it is. Okay, interesting. It doesn't look very square to me. I'm just going to eyeball it. Okay, that's good enough. Okay, and maybe I should move this one also in here so that all the kind of like controls are together. So I could do something like that, and then make the height of that a bit bigger. And also I'm going to add 10 padding on this one. Okay, and then I guess the problem now is I'm overlapping that line. So let's undo and put it back to where it was. Okay, that's fine. So if I drag this over a bit, then it fits. Let's see if I can make the font slightly bigger. Okay. Okay. I think I'm going to have to be done with that. I don't like it, but I've got time pressures and all. So yeah, thanks for watching. So I need to put in a link for, let's see, what were the things I needed to, oh, the file, the Excel file that I use for the additional country information. So that I'll include a link to that. What else? Are there any other questions here? Okay, I don't think there's any other questions. Yeah, thanks again for joining. A bit of a stutter today. The thing that's really interesting to me in this particular view is that most of the other countries kind of stay sort of clustered together. There's not really any massive changes until you get to the United States, which has had some pretty dramatic changes. You could just see how messed up healthcare is in America. I'll do probably, I need to do some tidying up on the tooltips and things, but I'll do that before I publish it so that you're not bored sitting here watching me edit tooltips. So yeah, so Denise says she's not sure what the axis means. Voluntary, well, it's health spending. Maybe I should put a definition. So that's a good point. So let me go here and I could say, maybe I could just copy this. Okay, in collective services. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this sentence and then I'm going to put it as a subtitle here. So, and the reason I'm pasting it in here first is so that I get a better, so let's do 10 and maybe make that gray. And then, yeah, so something like that maybe. So healthcare spending measures of final consumption of goods, including personal health care and collective services, but excluding spending on investments. Okay, does that clear it up, Denise? Hopefully that does. Let me make this font smaller. Okay, and now I could just make this whole section a bit bigger. Okay. You're not sure what 1 through 15 are representing dollars or thousands of dollars. Oh, I see. Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, so right now it's percent of GDP. That's a good point because I can't really flip between the two. So maybe I should just pick one. And the per capita looks much more interesting. So maybe I don't even have this comparison here and I just look at the per capita spending. I think I'm going to do that. Let's see. So health spending per capita. And now I'm going to actually have this extra container here that I can now remove. And I can make this a bit bigger now so I get a bit of padding. Is that, yeah. So, and they're both in, one says K because it can't really fit the space, but I also want this to be square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually find the largest value. So largest, I'll show you, Denise, how I can make this a bit more square. So Kevin, you can do the dynamic axis names if you use a parameter instead of a filter. So window max, voluntary spending. Let's see, so if window max sum of voluntary spending is bigger than window max sum of compulsory spending, then I want to do window max sum of voluntary spending, else window max, sum of compulsory spending. So what I'm trying to do now is just get the largest value in the view. Okay, so if I drag this onto the detail shelf, I should be able to just look at all of the values in the view. So I just want to see what's the biggest value overall. And I'm going to add that as a reference line on both fields. So I want this to be largest. And then I want to turn the label off and the tooltip off. I'm going to leave the lines on here now just so you can see what it does. And then I want to go here on the other one and also change that to largest. Okay, and now what you'll see is I now have a square, because they're both the same value, I have a square scatter plot. So yeah, so this is a good way to kind of maybe show that ratio between the two, between compulsory and healthcare spending. So it's a way to sort of, so let me format that, and I'm going to get rid of the lines. None. Okay, so now the lines are there, but you can't see them. So one other thing that I'd be tempted to do here, though, is, it's kind of hard to tell which one you're spending more on, voluntary spending or compulsory spending. So I'd be tempted to just duplicate the voluntary over here. And then on this, so I'm going to go ahead and leave everything on here. I can get rid of that. I can take region and get rid of region. And I could put country, country's on detail. I'm going to make this a line. Don't worry, it's not going to really do anything yet. Shrink it all the way down. I'm going to make it invisible. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a trend line on this axis here. I think this is the right one. There we go. So now I'll have a, if I make this dual axis now and synchronize, you'll see I get a nice perfect 45-degree angle. So I can see, so let me format the trend line. So trend lines, let me make that thinner. Maybe, I don't know, make it black or something, doesn't really matter. And now I can see a perfect, let's see, let me make it like that. And why does it have a border on it? That's weird. It looks like it's got a very slight gray border. So, the benefit of this now is you can see the first few years, there was more, in the US in particular, there was more voluntary spending than compulsory spending, and then it flipped. So that nice little 45-degree angle can help with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually move this over here so it's not in the way of that line. And then I'm going to get rid of, I don't know if I want to get rid of my grid lines or not. I think I'm going to leave them, but I'm going to make them a light gray, like a lighter color gray. I'm going to get rid of my zero lines. I'm going to get rid of my row and column dividers. Okay, and yeah, so I'm actually going to call this per capita. Per capita. So, okay. So how about that? Is that better? Denise, does that make more sense now? And hopefully you can, this is really interesting now because it shows where for all of these countries you're seeing the spending has increased over time. Now the question is, do we really need it to be these dashed lines? So if I don't want it to be those dashed lines, I would just change my mark type to a line and move year to the path shelf. And then what happened here? But now it's adding these on, and I'd have to get rid of that probably. And see, yeah, so now that looks more like those are more like squiggly lines. So I don't know which one you prefer. I actually probably could, I could just make the trails just a size. See how it keeps changing it to none? Isn't that annoying? So I could make those solid lines maybe. Maybe that'll be a bit better. Yeah, I think that's better. Okay. So now the last thing I'm gonna excuse me, the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get rid of the tooltips on this line here. And then actually I want to get rid of the command buttons as well. And then on this option, what I want to do is I'm going to say the country, and then the region, and then the year. Okay. And then I want to have compulsory spending versus voluntary spending. And I'm going to allow this selection by category, because I think what that will do now is when I hover over, like, come on, where is my tooltip? Why is it? Oh, it's because I have it on the pages shelf. So, oh no, and I don't want that to happen either. So I need to edit my reference line, untick recalculate, okay. And then here, edit reference line, untick recalculate. And then on my trend line, I need to make sure I did a show recalculate, untick that. I'm going to uncheck the tooltip. Okay, there we go. So the issue now is I can't see the values for each year. I don't like that. So what I need to do now then is I need to change this to a line. I don't like not being able to see the values for each year. It only shows me the most recent year because I'm using the pages shelf. So if I make this a line, oops, and then switch this to the path shelf, the issue now is I don't have this calculation, my largest calculation is, so I don't want it to account for the year. So if I uncheck year, no, that's not going to do it. Restarting every year, no, that's not going to do it either. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to ignore this as a calculation then. Where'd that go? So remove reference line. Okay, so now, oh, that's because this, oh, dumb. Okay, so this one needs to have year on here as well. There we go. And then on this one, I want to show the mark label maybe on the min-max. But what I'm trying to do is just get a dot on the end of the line. So, so if I do the latest year, but the field I want to have on there is, let's see, so yeah, I like the little circles on the ends of the lines because it kind of shows you where it's coming. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm just going to create a blank field, and then I'm going to put that on the text, on the label. Oh, darn it, it got rid of the circles. Dang it. I'm trying to just make sure I get the little lines on the ends. So label, why don't I just set it like that? So that should do it. No, why did that not work? Why don't I just make it white? There we go. So now I've got my little lines at the end, but now I can see every year as I go through. So that makes it a bit better. Okay, so is that better? You liked it before better. You mean you liked it better with the dashed lines? Is that what you mean, Denise? I could go back to that. The only issue is, so the reason I don't like the dashed lines is because I can't see all of the, when on my tooltips, I can't see all of the values. So it just depends if you want to have, all of the values in the for every year as you go on the tooltip. So I guess it's just kind of a trade-off. I'd worry that somebody might get confused if they can't see all of the individual values. That'd be my biggest concern. So I need to synchronize. What happened here to my, what the heck happened to my 45-degree line here? Oh, I need to get rid of that. Great, it's no longer allowing me to synchronize. There we go. But why is it not? It's actually not synchronized, which is weird. Okay, let's get rid of that. Oh, I need to put my, yeah, add reference line. So let me get rid of that. Let me just add a reference line at, like, I don't know, 9,000. Oops. Okay, so I want this to be a constant. And then I'm going to get rid of the value, get rid of the tooltip. Okay, and then here, I want to make that a constant. Or not 9K, not 90K, 9K. And then label none, tooltip none. I think that will get me back. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now we're back to that. I don't know, this is a tough one. The benefit of the trails is that you can see the kind of direction better. I'm sort of torn between the two, so I think I'm just going to hit undo a lot of times until I get back to that. I think I'm with you there, Denise. I think it needs this is where the unlimited undo is really handy. Okay, so I guess the question is, do we want to have the dotted lines? So we can have the dashed lines. Okay, why isn't it going back anymore? Yeah, so do we want the dashed lines or do we want the solid lines? I don't know, what do you guys think? Maybe if I go slightly fatter, oh, that looks better. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. But I think the thin works better because of all these overlapping down here at the bottom. Okay, I'm done. That took way too long for a simple data set. But again, hopefully you learned something along the way. I like doing these sessions because you do get to learn. You do get to learn something. So yeah. So let me make this a bit bigger now. Okay. So yeah, I guess that's it. Let me know if you have any questions. I guess the things that I need to post are the link to that Excel file that I use for each of the to bring in kind of the region info and things like that. So I will get that up when I get when this finishes publishing. I need to add my my references and things in the chart. Okay, so that's it. Thank you everybody for the good session today, and I will be back next week. Have a good day.